Have you ever felt trapped in a situation where you knew it was wrong for you, but leaving seemed impossible? There is a quiet strength in walking away. In life, we often chase approval, hold on to arguments, or cling to people and places that drain our peace. Stoicism teaches us that true power is not in controlling others, but in controlling ourselves. True power comes from controlling yourself, not others. Many people spend their lives trying to control the actions, opinions, and emotions of those around them. They believe that if they can make others behave the way they want, they will be happy, respected, or safe. Yet, this is an illusion. You cannot control what others think, say, or do. No matter how much effort you put into trying to change someone else, their mind and choices remain theirs alone. The Stoics understood this clearly. They knew that the only thing truly within your control is yourself. Your thoughts, your reactions, and your choices. When you focus on controlling yourself instead of others, you discover a freedom that is impossible to take away. You realize that your peace, your happiness, and your integrity are in your hands, not in the hands of those around you. This kind of control is not about force or domination. It is about discipline and awareness. It is about noticing your impulses, your emotions, and your judgments, and learning to respond to them with wisdom rather than habit. When anger arises, you do not lash out. When fear or anxiety appears, you do not panic. When someone provokes or insults you, you do not react in haste. Instead, you pause, observe, and choose your response. This is true power. It is subtle but profound. The world may praise those who dominate others, but the wise praise those who master themselves. When you control yourself, you are never a victim of circumstance or of the actions of others. No one can make you angry without your consent. No one can make you feel worthless unless you allow it. You decide the value of your own life, and no one else has that authority. Many people waste energy trying to change situations or manipulate people, believing that their happiness depends on these external factors. They may succeed sometimes, but it is always temporary. True happiness cannot be built on the shifting behaviors of others. It can only come from within, from the knowledge that you act according to your principles and values, regardless of what others do. Controlling yourself means understanding your desires and letting go of those that are harmful or unnecessary. It means distinguishing between what is truly valuable and what is trivial or fleeting. It means recognizing that the opinions of others, their praise or criticism, their approval or disapproval, are outside your control and therefore not worth your anxiety. By focusing on yourself, you gain clarity. You gain stability. You become resilient. You can face challenges without being overwhelmed, because your strength does not depend on external circumstances. It depends on your own character, your own discipline, and your own reason. Controlling yourself also allows you to respond to life with intention rather than habit. You act not out of impulse, fear, or desire for recognition, but from a place of thoughtful choice. You can walk away from situations that harm you without guilt. You can speak the truth even when it is uncomfortable. You can forgive others without becoming weak, because forgiveness is an act of control over your own heart, not a surrender to another person. Every time you exercise control over yourself, you strengthen your mind. Every time you resist the urge to react rashly, to chase approval, or to indulge harmful habits, you build inner power that cannot be shaken by fortune, misfortune, praise, or insult. It is a power that grows quietly, steadily, and invisibly, yet it shapes your life more than any external force ever could. The mastery of yourself is the foundation of freedom, peace, and lasting happiness. It is the power that no one can take from you, no matter the circumstances. When you control yourself, you do not merely survive, you live with dignity, clarity, and purpose. You become the captain of your own life, unshaken by the storms around you, because your strength comes from within. You become unshakable in the face of others' opinions, resilient in the face of challenges, and serene in the face of chaos, because your focus is on what you can control: your own mind, your own heart, your own choices. Walking away protects your inner peace. Life constantly presents us with situations, people, and challenges that can disturb our calm and disturb our clarity. Many people cling to these disturbances, believing that confronting every difficulty or engaging with every conflict is a sign of strength. Yet, True strength often lies in knowing when to disengage. The Stoics teach us that our mind is our most precious possession, and it should not be surrendered to anger, fear, or frustration. When we walk away from situations that threaten our peace, we are not giving up, we are protecting ourselves. Inner peace is fragile if we allow external forces to dominate our thoughts. A harsh word, an unfair accusation, or a toxic presence can upset our balance if we let them. But when we choose to step back, to distance ourselves from harmful energy, we maintain clarity of mind. Walking away is a conscious decision to refuse participation in negativity. It is a choice to prioritize calm over chaos. Often, people mistake staying in a conflict or enduring difficult relationships as commitment or loyalty, but in reality, it can be a slow erosion of the soul. When we hold on to what diminishes us, we allow our energy to be wasted on things that have no benefit. By walking away, we reclaim that energy and redirect it toward what truly matters. Walking away does not always mean physical distance. Sometimes it is emotional or mental. It is the refusal to ruminate over insult, betrayal, or irritation. It is the decision not to allow the words or actions of others to dictate our emotional state. The Stoics understood that our emotions should be guided by reason, not by external circumstances. When we disengage from what provokes us unnecessarily, we are exercising reason and wisdom. We recognize that some battles are not ours to fight, and that attempting to control what we cannot only leads to frustration. Walking away protects our inner peace because it allows us to avoid unnecessary suffering. Life is filled with events beyond our control, and people will always act according to their own nature. Expecting others to behave as we wish is a source of disappointment. But when we walk away, we acknowledge reality and choose serenity over struggle. The more we practice walking away from unnecessary conflict, the more we strengthen our resilience. Our mind becomes a sanctuary, untroubled by the chaos of the outside world. We learn that peace is not something we find outside, it is something we cultivate within. Choosing to walk away also gives us perspective. By stepping back, we can observe situations with clarity rather than reacting impulsively. This distance allows us to see the truth more accurately, to understand the motivations of others, and to make decisions that align with our values. Walking away is not cowardice, it is wisdom in action. It is a recognition that our time, our energy, and our emotional well-being are valuable, and they should not be squandered on situations or people who harm rather than help us. In a world full of distractions, provocations, and emotional triggers, the ability to step back is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves. It allows us to maintain focus, to nurture our character, and to live according to our principles rather than being swept away by circumstance. When we protect our inner peace, we also protect our relationships. Engaging in every conflict or argument can create unnecessary tension and damage connections. By walking away, we prevent escalation and avoid the unnecessary harm that comes from reactive behavior. Walking away is an act of self-respect, a declaration that our mind and heart are not for sale to anger, manipulation, or stress. It is a practice of mindfulness, patience, and self-discipline, cultivating a calm center from which we can respond to life with clarity and strength. Every time we walk away from negativity, we reinforce the habit of valuing peace over pride, reason over impulse, and wisdom over emotion, allowing us to live a life that is measured, intentional, and serene. Holding on to anger or conflict weakens your mind. Anger is one of the most common and powerful emotions that humans experience, yet it is also one of the most destructive when it takes control of our thoughts and actions. When we allow ourselves to dwell on grievances, injustices, or slights, we give away our power. We let external events dictate our internal state, and in doing so, we lose the calm, rational mind that is necessary for clarity and wise action. Stoicism teaches us that nothing external, no insult, no betrayal, no obstacle, can harm us unless we permit it to. The harm comes not from the event itself, but from our attachment to it, our unwillingness to let it go, and our refusal to accept what is beyond our control. Holding on to conflict keeps us trapped in a cycle of resentment and reactivity. Every time we replay an argument in our minds or continue to fume over someone's wrongdoing, we strengthen the chains that bind us. Our energy is consumed not by solving problems or improving ourselves, but by reliving the past and preparing for imagined battles. The more we cling to anger, the less clear our thinking becomes. Our judgment becomes clouded, our decision-making impaired, and our relationships strained. People who hold on to conflict often believe that doing so gives them strength or justice, but in reality, it diminishes their ability to act with wisdom and compassion. Conflict is like fire. When contained and managed, it can provide light and warmth. But when allowed to rage unchecked within our minds, it consumes everything, leaving only stress, frustration, and regret. Stoicism encourages us to examine the roots of our anger. We should ask ourselves why a particular action or word affects us so deeply. Is it because it violates our values? Is it because it challenges our ego? Once we identify the true source, we can address it more effectively and without unnecessary emotional expenditure. Releasing anger does not mean ignoring injustice or failing to act. It means approaching situations with a clear mind, free from the distortions of rage or resentment. When we let go of conflict, we reclaim mental and emotional energy that can be used for growth, learning, and meaningful action. We begin to see people and situations as they are, not as we wish them to be. Holding on to anger also affects our health and well-being. Chronic resentment increases stress, disrupts sleep, and impacts both physical and emotional health. By letting go, we protect our body as well as our mind. Walking away from conflict, or choosing not to engage unnecessarily, is an act of strength. It is a demonstration that we value our peace, over proving ourselves right or winning arguments. It shows that we understand the limits of our control and are willing to focus on what truly matters. When we release anger, we open space for understanding, compassion, and strategic thinking. We can respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. We can maintain our dignity and avoid unnecessary escalation. Anger is often fueled by expectation and attachment. When people act differently than we want, or when life unfolds in ways we do not anticipate, we feel frustrated and upset. Recognizing that life will not always align with our desires allows us to approach situations with equanimity, to accept what we cannot change, and to focus on what is within our control. By holding on to anger, we chain ourselves to the past and to others' actions. By releasing it, we free our minds to live fully in the present, to act with reason, and to cultivate resilience, patience, and inner strength. Holding on to anger blinds us to solutions, to opportunities, and to the simple peace that comes from letting go. It is only by releasing the grip of conflict that we can think clearly, act wisely, and maintain the serenity that is the mark of a strong, disciplined mind. Not every battle is worth your energy. In life, we are constantly confronted with challenges, disagreements, and situations that demand our attention. It is easy to fall into the trap of feeling obligated to respond to every provocation or to fight every perceived injustice. Many people believe that their strength is measured by how vigorously they engage in every conflict, how persistently they assert themselves, or how loudly they defend their position. Yet, this belief is misleading. True strength is not measured by endless struggle, but by the wisdom to choose which battles deserve our effort and which do not. Engaging in every conflict drains our energy, clouds our judgment, and distracts us from the goals that truly matter. Life is finite, and our energy is limited. Every moment spent in fruitless arguments, toxic interactions, or trivial disputes is a moment lost from pursuing meaningful growth, cultivating relationships, or maintaining inner peace. The Stoics understood that focusing on what is within our control is the key to a strong and balanced life. We cannot control the opinions, actions, or intentions of others, but we can control how we respond. By carefully selecting the battles we engage in, we preserve our energy, protect our peace, and act with greater clarity and effectiveness. Choosing not to fight every battle is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of discernment, discipline, and intelligence. It is an acknowledgement that some battles, no matter how tempting, will not bring lasting benefit, and may even cause harm to our character or well-being. When we let go of the urge to confront every challenge, we allow ourselves to conserve mental, emotional, and physical strength. We focus on situations where our action can make a meaningful difference, where our engagement aligns with our values, and where our efforts contribute to growth rather than unnecessary conflict. Many people are drawn into battles because of pride, fear, or the desire for validation. They feel compelled to defend themselves, assert dominance, or prove that they are right. Yet, these battles often lead to exhaustion, regret, and the erosion of inner calm. The Stoic approach encourages us to pause and reflect before engaging. We ask ourselves whether our involvement is necessary, whether it will produce constructive results, and whether it aligns with our principles. By answering honestly, we avoid wasting energy on what does not matter and channel our efforts where they can truly have an impact. Not every disagreement needs to be settled. Not every insult requires retaliation. Not every challenge demands immediate action. Sometimes walking away, remaining silent, or choosing a patient response is the wisest course. It is a way to protect our integrity, maintain our composure, and preserve our focus on what is meaningful. Choosing battles selectively also strengthens our character. It teaches patience, self-control, and strategic thinking. We learn to distinguish between temporary irritations and long-term priorities. We understand that engaging in minor conflicts often results in distraction, stress, and unnecessary tension, whereas focusing on significant matters leads to growth, clarity, and accomplishment. By reserving our energy for battles that truly deserve it, we not only protect ourselves from burnout, but also increase the likelihood of success in the conflicts we do choose to confront. Every decision about which battles to fight becomes an exercise in wisdom, self-awareness, and discipline. This approach allows us to live intentionally, rather than reactively, navigating life with purpose and serenity. It is through selective engagement that we cultivate inner strength, maintain emotional balance, and achieve a life guided by reason rather than impulse, ensuring that our energy is spent in ways that truly matter. Choosing peace over being right shows strength. Many people believe that proving themselves right in every situation is a mark of intelligence, power, or self-respect. They argue, debate, and insist on validation, often at the cost of their own calm and clarity. Yet, this pursuit of being right can be a trap. It binds the mind to conflict, fuels unnecessary tension, and distracts from what truly matters in life. The Stoics teach us that inner peace is far more valuable than the fleeting satisfaction of winning an argument. True strength is not found in forcing others to see your perspective, but in the ability to remain calm and composed, even when confronted with opposition. Choosing peace over being right requires humility. It requires recognizing that our ego does not need constant validation, and that the opinions of others do not define our worth. When we insist on proving ourselves right, we often allow pride to override reason and wisdom. We escalate conflicts unnecessarily, damage relationships, and disturb our mental and emotional balance. By prioritizing peace, we preserve our clarity of thought and our ability to act with purpose. Peace is a choice, a deliberate decision to step away from arguments, to disengage from disputes, and to refuse participation in unnecessary conflict. It does not mean ignoring injustice or failing to act when action is required. Instead, it is the decision to focus on what truly matters, to avoid energy-draining battles, and to protect our emotional and mental well-being. Choosing peace over being right is an act of control over the self. It demonstrates mastery of the mind, restraint over the impulses of ego, and the courage to value harmony above temporary satisfaction. This approach allows us to respond rather than react, to think clearly rather than be clouded by anger or pride. Often, people mistake silence or withdrawal as weakness, but in reality, it is a form of power. It is the power to refuse engagement in what is unproductive or harmful. It is the wisdom to recognize that some disputes will not change the minds of others, and that attempting to do so only wastes energy and peace of mind. By choosing peace, we also influence others subtly. A calm and composed presence can diffuse tension, inspire reflection, and model the value of serenity. While some may continue in conflict, the one who prioritizes peace maintains dignity and clarity, unaffected by provocation or insult. This choice cultivates resilience. It strengthens the mind against emotional turbulence and builds a stable foundation for decision-making. When we are no longer driven by the need to be right, we are free to focus on growth, understanding, and meaningful action. Choosing peace over being right also nurtures relationships. Arguments fueled by pride often damage bonds, while a focus on harmony fosters trust, respect, and mutual understanding. By letting go of the compulsion to always assert correctness, we create space for dialogue, empathy, and collaboration. In life, there will always be disagreements, misunderstandings, and provocations. Insisting on being right in every situation is a recipe for stress and frustration. Choosing peace, on the other hand, allows us to navigate these challenges with calm, patience, and clarity. It demonstrates the strength of character, the power of self-control, and the wisdom to prioritize what truly matters over temporary victories. By valuing peace above pride, we cultivate a mind that is resilient, a heart that is steady, and a life that is guided by reason, purpose, and inner strength. Freedom begins with letting go of toxic situations. Many people misunderstand freedom as the ability to do whatever they want, to act without restriction, or to control everything around them. True freedom, however, comes from within. It comes from the ability to choose what you allow into your life, from the courage to release what harms you, and from the discipline to focus on what aligns with your values. Toxic situations, whether they involve people, habits, or environments, drain our energy and cloud our judgment. They bind us with invisible chains of stress, anger, fear, and resentment. By holding on to them, we surrender control over our own lives. Walking away from what is harmful is not an act of defeat. It is an act of liberation. It is a declaration that our peace, our dignity, and our well-being are more important than pleasing others, avoiding confrontation, or clinging to comfort. Letting go requires awareness. We must first recognize what is toxic, what undermines our growth, and what disturbs our inner calm. Often, we continue in harmful situations because of fear, habit, or the expectation of others. We may feel guilty for leaving, anxious about the unknown, or doubtful of our own judgment. Yet, the moment we acknowledge the harm and choose to step away, we reclaim our freedom. Toxic situations often manipulate our emotions. They provoke anger, anxiety, or sadness to control our reactions. When we remain engaged, we allow them to dictate our emotional state. By disengaging, by refusing to invest our energy in negativity, we regain control. We decide what influences our mind, what thoughts we nurture, and how we respond to the world around us. Letting go also requires courage. It is easier to stay, to tolerate discomfort, or to endure harm because it feels familiar. Yet, courage is the willingness to face uncertainty, to risk temporary discomfort for long-term peace, and to prioritize our own well-being over external expectations. Every step away from toxicity strengthens our inner resilience. It teaches us that our worth does not depend on the approval or acceptance of those who harm or drain us. It shows us that we are capable of making choices that honor our values and preserve our integrity. Freedom is not just the absence of external restrictions, it is the mastery of our inner world. When we let go of toxic situations, we clear space for clarity, growth, and meaningful experiences. We free our minds from unnecessary worry, our hearts from unnecessary pain, and our time from unnecessary distraction. Letting go does not mean we abandon responsibility or ignore life's challenges. It means we no longer allow harmful influences to dominate our energy or compromise our peace. We learn to protect our boundaries, to recognize when engagement is unnecessary, and to prioritize what truly matters. Freedom gained through letting go is lasting because it is rooted in self-mastery. It does not rely on changing others, controlling circumstances, or avoiding difficulty. It relies on the strength of our choices, the discipline of our mind, and the courage to act in alignment with our values. When we release toxic situations, we also cultivate wisdom. We begin to understand the difference between what we can influence and what we cannot, between what deserves our attention and what is a distraction. We learn to act with intention, to preserve our energy, and to focus on what builds rather than destroys. Letting go is a practice that requires patience, self-reflection, and perseverance. It may be uncomfortable at first, as we face the fear of the unknown or the discomfort of change. Yet, with every act of release, we move closer to a life of clarity, peace, and genuine freedom, guided by reason rather than compulsion, and by choice rather than circumstance. Walking away is a statement of self-respect. Many people underestimate the power of this simple act, believing that strength lies only in confrontation, endurance, or proving oneself. Yet, the Stoics teach us that true strength is measured not by how much we tolerate from others, but by how we honor our own values and protect our inner dignity. When we remain in situations, relationships, or conflicts that undermine our principles, we diminish ourselves. We signal, often unconsciously, that our peace, our integrity, and our well-being are negotiable. Walking away is a declaration that they are not. Self-respect begins with recognizing your own worth. It requires the understanding that your time, energy, and emotional health are precious resources. When someone disrespects you, manipulates you, or treats you unfairly, continuing to engage with them can erode your sense of self. Choosing to step back, to disengage, or to leave is a powerful affirmation that you value yourself more than the opinions, demands, or expectations of others. This act is not reactive or impulsive, it is deliberate and intentional. It requires clarity of thought and awareness of your own boundaries. By walking away, you communicate to yourself and to the world that your principles are non-negotiable, that your peace is sacred, and that your mind and heart cannot be bargained for or controlled. Often, people remain in harmful situations because they fear judgment, rejection, or conflict. They worry about what others will think, or they hope that endurance will eventually lead to recognition or reward. Yet, the Stoic perspective reminds us that external approval is fleeting and unreliable. Self-respect, on the other hand, is enduring. It is the foundation of a life guided by reason, integrity, and purpose. Walking away also allows us to regain perspective. When we are too close to a situation, too involved in arguments, or too immersed in the demands of others, we lose clarity. Our judgment becomes clouded by emotion, attachment, or obligation. By stepping back, we create space to reflect, to understand, and to decide what truly serves our well-being. This act strengthens not only our mind, but also our character. It teaches discipline, patience, and the courage to prioritize our own values over temporary comfort, approval, or avoidance of discomfort. Self-respect grows each time we choose to honor ourselves rather than compromise our integrity. Walking away is also a lesson in emotional intelligence. It requires awareness of our feelings, recognition of harmful dynamics, and the courage to act in alignment with our principles. It demonstrates that our reactions are guided by reason rather than impulse, by clarity rather than pride, and by wisdom rather than fear. Furthermore, walking away protects us from unnecessary suffering. Many conflicts and toxic situations escalate when we remain engaged out of obligation, guilt, or habit. By disengaging, we prevent further harm, conserve our energy, and maintain our composure. This preservation of self is not passive. It is an active exercise of choice and control. It is a reminder that our lives are ours to govern, that our boundaries are valid, and that we have the authority to decide what is acceptable and what is not. Each decision to walk away reinforces a pattern of respect for oneself. It builds confidence, clarity, and resilience, allowing us to navigate life with dignity, purpose, and inner strength. Walking away teaches that strength is not always loud or confrontational. Sometimes, it is quiet, measured, and firm. It is the power to protect our mind, our heart, and our soul by honoring our own principles above external pressures, demonstrating that the truest respect begins within ourselves and extends outward in every choice we make. Inner calm is more valuable than external approval. Many people spend their lives seeking recognition, validation, or acceptance from others, believing that their worth depends on how they are seen. They strive to meet expectations, win arguments, gain praise, or avoid criticism. Yet, no matter how much external approval we earn, it is fleeting, unpredictable, and outside our control. True stability and strength come not from how others perceive us, but from the serenity we cultivate within ourselves. The Stoics teach that inner calm is a choice and a practice. It is the result of self-discipline, awareness, and the deliberate focus on what is within our control. External approval is never fully under our command. We cannot guarantee how people will think, what they will say, or how they will act. When we depend on it for happiness, our peace becomes fragile, easily disturbed by disapproval, misunderstanding, or criticism. In contrast, inner calm is independent of circumstance. It is rooted in the mastery of our own mind and the alignment of our actions with our values. By prioritizing inner calm over the fleeting satisfaction of external validation, we maintain stability and clarity regardless of what happens outside us. Inner calm allows us to respond rather than react. When we are obsessed with approval, We may act impulsively, compromise our principles, or overextend ourselves in pursuit of acceptance. This often leads to stress, resentment, or regret. Cultivating calm enables measured action, thoughtful decisions, and balanced responses, because we are no longer ruled by the desire to impress or please others. Choosing inner calm also strengthens our resilience. Life is unpredictable, and people will inevitably disappoint, criticize, or misunderstand us. When our sense of worth is tied to their opinions, every slight or judgment feels like a blow. By anchoring our value in our own understanding and self-respect, we are less vulnerable to the volatility of external approval. We become like a calm harbor amidst stormy seas, steady and unshaken, capable of navigating challenges without losing balance. Inner calm also fosters genuine relationships. When we are not dependent on validation, we engage with others authentically, without manipulation or pretense. People respond to sincerity, clarity, and composure far more than to desperate attempts to be liked or admired. By valuing calm over approval, we cultivate connections based on respect, trust, and mutual understanding rather than ego or fear. Furthermore, inner calm allows us to focus on what truly matters. Energy spent chasing approval is energy taken from personal growth, meaningful work, and the pursuit of wisdom. By letting go of the need for constant validation, we redirect our attention to cultivating virtue, improving ourselves, and living in alignment with our principles. The Stoic perspective emphasizes that the mind is our most valuable possession, and it should not be surrendered to the judgments of others. Each time we prioritize calm over approval, we reinforce the habit of self-mastery, develop emotional stability, and strengthen the ability to remain undisturbed by external chaos. Inner calm is a shield against the distractions, manipulations, and pressures of the world. It allows us to act intentionally, make decisions aligned with reason, and preserve our dignity, regardless of circumstance. People who achieve this balance are not easily swayed by praise or criticism. They are guided by principle, clarity, and a deep understanding of what is truly valuable. In every choice we make, the decision to preserve our inner calm over seeking approval reinforces our independence, our strength, and our ability to live a life rooted in purpose, reason, and serenity. Mastery of your choices is greater than control over others. Many people spend their lives trying to influence, manipulate, or dominate those around them. They believe that by controlling others, they can secure safety, respect, or happiness. Yet, this pursuit is ultimately futile. No matter how much effort we put into changing someone else's behavior, we cannot control their thoughts, feelings, or decisions. True power lies not in controlling others, but in mastering our own choices, actions, and responses. The Stoics teach that the only thing fully within our control is ourselves. Our judgments, our attitudes, and the decisions we make in response to life's events are ours alone. By focusing on our own mastery, we gain freedom, clarity, and resilience that cannot be taken from us. When we attempt to control others, we surrender our energy to forces beyond our influence. We become entangled in frustration, disappointment, and anxiety because the world rarely conforms to our desires. We may achieve temporary victories, but they are always dependent on circumstances outside our control. In contrast, mastering our choices gives us lasting strength. It allows us to act according to reason and principle, regardless of what others do. Every decision we make becomes an exercise in self-discipline and self-respect. Mastery of choice begins with awareness. We must observe our impulses, emotions, and motivations without judgment, recognizing where our decisions align with our values and where they do not. By understanding ourselves, we gain the ability to respond intentionally rather than react impulsively. Each time we choose wisely, we reinforce the habit of self-mastery and strengthen our capacity to navigate life's challenges. Mastery over oneself also cultivates resilience. When external events or the actions of others threaten our plans or expectations, a person who relies on control over others will be thrown off balance. A person who relies on mastery of their own choices remains steady, able to adjust, adapt, and act according to principle. This independence provides freedom from unnecessary stress and emotional turbulence. Choosing mastery over control also enhances relationships. Those who seek to control others often create tension, resentment, and conflict. Those who focus on their own choices lead by example, inspire respect, and interact with clarity and integrity. People naturally respond to composure, reason, and strength, far more than to manipulation or coercion. Mastery of choice requires courage. It is easier to blame others, to attempt to manipulate outcomes, or to impose our will externally. True courage lies in facing the uncertainty of life, making deliberate choices aligned with values, and accepting the consequences of those choices without complaint or regret. Each act of self-mastery builds confidence, discipline, and a sense of personal power that is unshakable by the actions of others. It is a recognition that our life is shaped not by external forces, but by how we navigate them. Focusing on our own choices allows us to prioritize what truly matters. We conserve energy by not attempting the impossible task of controlling others. We develop clarity by directing attention to actions and decisions that are within our power. We cultivate peace by freeing ourselves from the burden of trying to manage what we cannot influence. The more we exercise mastery over our choices, the more we discover that happiness, freedom, and strength are internal, not dependent on others. Control over others is an illusion. Mastery of oneself is real. This mastery empowers us to face challenges calmly, make decisions thoughtfully, and live according to our principles. It is the foundation of resilience, dignity, and true freedom. When we understand that the greatest power comes from within, we stop wasting energy on what we cannot change and begin to invest fully in what we can, creating a life of purpose, clarity, and unwavering strength. Courage to leave harmful situations leads to clarity and purpose. Many people remain in relationships, jobs, or circumstances that harm them because leaving feels difficult, uncomfortable, or uncertain. Fear of change, worry about judgment, or attachment to familiarity often keeps them trapped in environments that drain their energy and cloud their mind. Yet, the Stoics understood that true courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act rightly despite it. Leaving what is harmful requires courage because it challenges our comfort, confronts our attachments, and demands self-trust. Every harmful situation that we endure weakens our clarity of thought and distorts our sense of purpose. When we are constantly managing the negative influence of people, circumstances, or obligations, our mind becomes cluttered with stress, resentment, and confusion. Decisions are harder to make, priorities become blurred, and our ability to act according to reason diminishes. By stepping away from what is harmful, we remove these obstacles and regain the ability to think clearly. Clarity emerges when the mind is free from unnecessary distractions and emotional burdens. It allows us to assess our values, goals, and priorities with honesty and precision. Courage to leave is therefore not just an act of escape, it is an act of self-preservation, self-respect, and self-mastery. It demonstrates that we value our well-being over external pressures, fear, or expectation. Purpose also arises from this courage. When we are no longer entangled in harmful situations, we can direct our energy toward meaningful endeavors that align with our principles and aspirations. Purpose is obscured when our actions are dictated by avoidance, obligation, or the influence of negative forces. By leaving, we reclaim our agency and the ability to live intentionally. Every step away from harm reinforces the habit of making choices that honor our values and prioritize our growth. Courage strengthens the mind by teaching us that discomfort is temporary, but the consequences of remaining in harmful circumstances are long-lasting. We learn to trust our judgment, rely on our inner strength, and act in alignment with reason rather than impulse. People often confuse staying with resilience, believing that enduring difficulty is a sign of strength. Yet, the Stoics recognize that resilience is not blind endurance but wise action. True resilience involves knowing when to engage and when to withdraw, when to persist and when to let go. Leaving harmful situations is an expression of this wisdom. Courage also frees us from the opinions of others. Many are held back by fear of judgment, criticism, or disappointment from family, friends, or society. The Stoic approach emphasizes that our lives are ours to govern, that external opinions should not dictate our choices, and that acting in accordance with our principles is more important than conforming to expectation. By exercising courage, we cultivate independence, self-reliance, and confidence. Clarity, purpose, and courage are interconnected. Courage enables us to leave what harms us, leaving space for clarity in thought and reflection. Clarity allows us to understand our true needs, desires, and values. Purpose emerges when we act intentionally based on this understanding, focusing our energy on what matters most. Every choice to leave what diminishes us strengthens our character, sharpens our focus, and reinforces the understanding that our life is shaped by our actions, not by the limitations imposed by others or by circumstances. Courage transforms fear into action, confusion into clarity, and stagnation into purposeful movement. It empowers us to reclaim our time, energy, and attention from sources of harm, creating space for growth, fulfillment, and meaningful engagement with the world. By choosing courage over comfort, action over passivity, and principle over fear, we align our lives with reason, virtue, and the pursuit of true well-being. Each act of leaving harmful situations becomes a step toward a life guided by clarity, enriched by purpose, and fortified by the wisdom to act rightly, regardless of difficulty, expectation, or opposition.